Hi everyone, welcome back to No Sugar with Everything Krause. No sugar, no sugarista, no sugar mama. I was singing that the other day in the kitchen and I was like, wow, we literally haven't sung that in what feels like forever.
Wait, we need to bring that back. What are we doing?
It's just hard virtual.
It is hard virtual, but just because I feel like I'm pumping up the energy alone in my bedroom.
And it doesn't always match up, like, especially because we're on a streaming service. Our internets are different. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
It just doesn't match up the best. So we only want to save that jingle for in-person audios. Hopefully coming to you soon.
I know. I've been like, now I've gotten comfortable with the virtual.
I know.
That I know switching back to in-person is going to be like different, but honestly, I am excited to get some in-person action going.
I haven't done that with you in so long.
So long, literally feels like forever.
Oh, excuse me. I'm not getting much sleep.
Literally. So before we get into the episode, I wanted to wish everyone a happy Memorial Day. I know it's after Memorial Day, but I hope you all had an amazing weekend. We are going to the Jersey Shore. So we're recording this before the weekend, but we're going to the Jersey Shore. Don't think the weather's going to be very nice. I feel like deja vu because the last Memorial Day, I remember saying the same thing on this recording. But no,
it's like weird that it's never nice.
Like, okay. Never. All week, at least in Pennsylvania, it's been beautiful. And then today it started raining and I'm like, yeah, it's because Memorial Day weekend's coming up. If you look at the Jersey Shore, it's like rain every day. I'm like, classic, of course.
Literally classic. It's so weird. It's literally doom and gloom out right now. I've been like literally trying to avoid the sun. That's how sunny it's been. I've been like dying of heat. So
hot. Like I was sitting outside dripping sweat. I'm like, I can't last longer than 20 minutes. I'm dying out here. Like literally.
The good old days. Don't wish away what you once had.
No, I know. So I'm like, I'm just trying to embrace it, but
hard truth.
I don't know. Sometimes I don't mind Memorial Day weekend being like a little rainy. It like is kind of fun, but it sucks because it's like our first time at the beach. So even I just like to be able to like walk around. Like maybe, okay, I can't be in a bikini on the beach, but like I don't want to walk around in
that's what I think my problem is.
Rain
like,
jacket.
I don't think I need, I mean, I would love to have like a awesome beach weekend, but that's just like never the case. So I'm not going to set that standard, but it's like what you're saying. Like, I just want to walk around and like it be a bit warm. Like, you know what I mean? Like not rainy and dark and gloomy. I want to go get my morning coffee and like enjoy sitting outside with my siblings.
Yeah.
On the porch or something like that. So anywho,
well, I'm hoping that it does right now say like drizzles and not like full on thunderstorms. So I think there is some hope in getting some like normal weather as opposed to like torrential downpour.
I'm okay with that.
But who's ever
okay with some drizzle.
When we hear this on Tuesday, we could be totally wrong. So pass.
What are you guys thinking? What's the prediction? Should we make a prediction?
Of what? Rain or what? Rain?
Rain, drizzle, torrential downpour, storm clouds. No rain.
I think it's gonna be drizzles.
I think it's holy shit. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, that's like I've looked at the weather app. Could change though. Cape May always changes.
Let's take a guess. All right. Well, I've looked at the app, so
like drizzle.
Drizzle. All right. Just because you said drizzle, I'm going with torrential downpour.
Yeah, we're gonna get both. All right.
I'm putting it out there. No, I'm putting out sunshine. I'm gonna go actually completely opposite, and I'm gonna be really optimistic. I think it's gonna be a beautiful beach day on Saturday.
Okay, I love it.
Maybe like 75 and sunny with a bit wind, sand blowing at you. That's what I'm predicting.
Sand slapping you in the face. Okay, anyway, let's get into today's episode. Before we get into today's episode, want to bring in that weekly reminder that if you are watching on YouTube currently or you're listening and interested in our YouTube channel, please like this video, share it with a friend. YouTube really loves the like button, that thumbs up button. It pushes it to other people who might watch similar videos but haven't found our podcast yet. And that's exactly what we want to do, is be able to reach more people and share what we are talking about with others so that everyone can kind of level up and get 1% better every day. So like this video, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, please share it with a friend. Thank you guys so much for your support, and we love you all very, very much.
Okay, guys, sorry to do it to you. I know you just enjoyed your Memorial Day weekend. You're in a great mood. You're buzzing. Well, guess what? We are here to hit you with some hard truths on this beautiful Tuesday post MDW. Get you in the right headspace. Face the reality, all right?
I feel like with our generation specifically, understanding that there are hard truths. I hate that word. And the fact that we're going to have to say it multiple times.
It's like
sucks.
rural.
Yeah. Like I hate truths. Okay. Anyway, I think that sometimes we have a hard time accepting hard things, and there is so much truth to the things we're going to talk about today. We could literally have created a list of like 50 different hard truths and just like spat them all out. And I do think that is important, like at our age, to kind of know these going through life. I feel like wiser older people tell us these things for a reason, because, you know, they've been through life and they are wiser. So they share that with us because it's important to know early on. And these are kind of life lessons that you can learn through experience, or you can kind of keep in the back of your mind going forward in life. And I think that's the best part, is like we now have access with books, podcasts, YouTube videos. There's so much information at our fingertips that can teach us what other people had to experience to learn. We can just read it or hear it and we can learn it and like keep it in our back pocket now.
Exactly right. It's honestly such an advantage. Like I know the truth can really hurt, but the resources that we have make it such an advantage that you don't actually have to go through it. You know, you're just verbally hearing it. You don't have to experience it. That's a whole different game. Before going into our truths, I also just want to go off of that with my favorite quote from Luke Belmar. If you guys are familiar with him, I absolutely love him. One of his most known lines that he just like Instagram storied one day, and I literally have it screenshotted in my camera roll, is the truth is bitter, but its fruit is sweet. And that is exactly how I feel about it. And I think some people don't recognize that its fruit can be really sweet because they're so caught up in how bitter it tastes, right? They can't get over that bitter feeling. But like if you just ride it out and keep going and kind of face the music, like the triumph is going to be so great at the end. And that's just, I want you to keep that in mind throughout this entire episode. Is like that's the common theme. The truth is bitter, but its fruit is sweet.
That's a good thing to preface everything with. So today we want to talk about 3 hard truths. We want to keep it kind of like short and simple for you guys. Let's start off with number 1, which I think is a good little heavy hitter here. I don't know why, like it just feels like it's a heavy hitter, because like when I read it I was like, oof, you know, like I just
feel like it sucks to hear, but it's like that's reality.
Yeah. So truth number 1 is no one cares about you the way that you think they do. And I think when I first read that, I was like, well, that's not always true, you know, but that's me not wanting to accept the full truth of that statement. And we've mentioned before, you are not the main character in everyone's life. You are literally only the main character in your own life. So to think that other people are worrying about your emotions, your feelings, being considerate of like you only at all times is just a fake reality. And not everyone is actually cares about you the way that you're going to care about yourself. You know, especially people who love themselves and care about their well-being. Like I work on myself for myself because I love myself, and no one's going to do that for me because no one's me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just like simple as that.
And I want to go off that because I feel like you said, oh, well, that's not always true. And the reason that we kind of came to the conclusion that it is always true is like, take Kateri and I, for example. I love you, Kateri, with my entire heart. But down to like an example of like, oh, Kateri and I are both recording for the podcast today. When I'm thinking about my schedule and I'm giving Kateri the time that works, I'm going to be thinking about my schedule, what's working best for me. It's natural. It's the selfishness within us to think about what's going to kind of work best in our life. That doesn't mean I don't care about Kateri, but that's just like a small example of me prioritizing me and not taking into consideration Kateri's needs, because no one is going to care about you as much as you, right? So I'm caring about my schedule. Kateri's caring about her schedule. Of course, I love Kateri so much, I'm going to take into consideration her schedule, but what's the first thing that pops up is mine, you know? So I feel like that's a good example of like, even with you and I, Kateri, I can see it happening and I don't take it personally at all, because I'm like, well, yeah, it's the selfish within us to always think about, how is this going to affect me? Like you're going to realize that probably in every situation, take a step back and the first thought you probably have is, how is this going to affect your life? I do. I can admit that to myself.
No, 100%. And you hit the nail on the head when I said like I didn't think that was 100% true. It's because I would think about like you. I think about, you know, the people who are really close in my life. But Uncle Frank once told me that if someone does something, it's to benefit themselves, whether they realize it or not. Everything you decide to do, it 9 times out of 10 has some benefit for you. And I do think there's situations where it can be completely selfless and you're not receiving any benefit from it. But like, think about it, even like giving to a charity or volunteering your time at like something that seems so selfless, you are in a way receiving, you know, like a little bit of a personal pat on the back, or, you know, it's filling up your, what's it like when you,
it's filling up your cup,
like your giving cup, you know, like the,
oh my God.
You know what I'm
giving cup?
I don't know, but it's really filling up the side of you that needs to give, to volunteer, to donate, like that.
Like maybe for you to feel good about yourself, you needed to make that donation. So like which is okay.
Yeah. Every
like
little thing kind of does come back to you. And you have to remember that other people are experiencing the same thing that you're experiencing.
Yeah.
So if you ask yourself like, well, what am I doing for me? You have to put that on other people as well. Well, they're thinking about themselves first here.
Yeah.
And I can't put my life in their hands.
The reason that this is such an important truth to recognize, I personally think so, is because it takes a lot of that weight off of other people's actions. Like I've noticed when I recognize that I am not the main character, that they're really not going to care about me, and they shouldn't care about me as much as I care about myself. Because like if they did care about me as much as I did, whoa, they need to prioritize themselves. Like everyone should be prioritizing themselves. But it really took off that weight of people's actions in my life, because it just helped me understand them more. Like it made my perspective wider every time something happened that I didn't like. If an action from someone felt like they were working against me, I was like, okay, let me place myself in their shoes. Like, what could they be thinking for them in this situation? Okay, I see how that benefited them. I can see how they overlooked me. I understand I'm not the first thing on their mind right now. That's all right. Like it helps you become wiser, and it may be like excusing some of their behavior, because sometimes people may be just completely selfish. Like that's not to say that everything is selfless, but sometimes people may be completely selfish, but it just allows you to not let that behavior really get to you. So it's kind of like a life hack in a sense of like, if you want to be unbreakable and unfazed by people, recognize that you're not the main character and you'll never be upset.
Exactly. And it removes a level of expectations that you might set for other people. And expectations really can be the thief of joy. And that is something that we've talked about as well. But exactly what you said, you might set expectations around other people. And then when they don't live up to these like high standards that you set in your mind about this person, it's like an immediate letdown. And there is no worse feeling than being let down, truly. Like when I feel let down,
it like leads to resentment.
It leads to resentment. It like, you literally feel like your heart break. Excuse me. I feel like
I thought you were like feeling the heartbreak there. I was like, oh,
like no, actually my heart is very whole.
Seriously, you literally feel your heartbreak. I was like, shit, we're getting emotional here, guys. Shit, this is really hard truth time.
Yeah. Okay, I don't really know what I was saying, but that just like made me laugh, so that maybe lightened it up for people.
Yeah, I think it's as simple as that. You're not the main character in everyone's life, just like how they're not the main character in yours. All right, every time you need to be reminded of that, think about your mind and think about how you think. How often are you thinking about the individuals? You're wondering if they're thinking about you. You know? So I don't really think there's anything else to say on that.
Yeah.
If you guys have any questions,
let us
DM
know.
us. Yeah. This is something that we're actively working on, by the way. This is a hard truth. I think so, because you want to believe that people are taking you into consideration all the time, especially when someone like really cares about you, and it's like, say, a romantic relationship. Like you're like, what do you mean? Like, why are you not thinking of me like that? And it's like, okay, it's innately within them to be selfish. So
and then just before we go into number 2, I do want to preface, like, I feel like when you say a hard truth, it might come off as having like a negative connotation. You know, it's just like kind of blunt, it's out there. But I feel like the way you look at all of these things, especially like the next 2, it's your perspective on them, and it's your ability to see them for good and be able to recognize it as like, I'm so happy I now know this information.
yeah,
Or that I can think of it this way.
that's a really great point to add, because I do think the hard truth comes off as like negative, and people always say, my second favorite line, the truth will set you free. That is really the case with these, like these hard truths. Once you face them, you are going to now be able to move forward and benefit from them, right? So now you're using something that once seemed so hard for you to face to your advantage and growing because of it. So they're opportunity for growth.
Exactly. Okay, the next hard truth is life isn't always happy, but there is value in the good and the bad. So that's exactly why I wanted to preface, because saying like life isn't always happy sounds super negative. It sounds kind of like woe is me, but it's the straight up truth. Like ask any single person on this planet. Life is not always happy. Like every single person goes through different hardships, different challenges, and life sometimes seems unfair. This is where the positive can come in. There is value in the good things that happen. There's value in the bad things that happen. There's lessons to be learned. There's different lives. There's just so many different things that you can gain from good and bad situations. And I think shielding yourself from the fact that there are bad situations, that life can be unfair, that sometimes you're questioning like, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to my family? Like, why us? And it's okay to question that, but how you choose to grow from maybe the bad situation and view it is really where your life can change for the better.
I think it's what builds the most character. It's actually going to build you up the most. I always say God gives his toughest soldiers God gives his strongest soldiers the toughest battles, because it builds them up to be that strong, to be able to take them, right? And I think that's really important. It's like what you said, if you went through a life with no hardship, no lows, I'm not saying that's bad. You know, if that is your life, I am so happy for you. I hope that it continues that way for you. I only wish the good. But if you do have lows, you need to look at them as like a character builder, because it really does shape you. I have met some people this year that have been through stuff that I have like almost unimaginable. Like I didn't know people went through that kind of life, and it was so different from mine. And all I saw from those people were like how it really shaped them. Like I was like, wow, I know exactly why you are the way you are now. And like that is so beautiful to see that it didn't break you, it made you into who you are now. And I also want to say, which just pops into my head about this hard truth, is like, from my perspective, if I didn't have any of the lows happening in my life, I wouldn't know how to really appreciate the highs. Like if I didn't feel such heartbreak, such devastation, such emotion, like I'm just showing like deep levels of emotion that I've been so let down before, I wouldn't know how good life can be. Like there's so many moments where I'm frozen in time, like the Finger Lakes. I will never forget that trip, because I just remember like, wow, I'm so at peace. And it was because the month before I was so not at peace. And I was so appreciative of the peace I was feeling in that moment at the Finger Lakes, because I was like, wow, look what happened in a month. Look at the feelings I'm feeling right now. I wasn't feeling this way a month ago. When I thought I would never be able to feel this way, here I am feeling at peace again. So it's just like such an example of like, you need to have those lows in order to feel the highs. You need the highs in order to know what a low is. You know, like they balance each other out. You need both in life. It's like that yin and yang type thing.
Yeah, 1,000%. And it really does, like if you think about it, when you go through something hard, even just from like a day-to-day basis, if you wake up and you're going to the gym and you decide to add on heavier weights to the squat rack, when you get through that challenge, you are stronger on the other side. The next time you stand up and you add that weight on, like you're going to be able to handle it better. You can relate that to any situation in life. The next time you face a very hard situation or like a big obstacle in your life, because you've already been through hard things, you can face this with more grace, with more understanding. You've learned so much in your life, and you can take everything that you've learned and apply it to the next thing. Because just because you go through hard things at one stage doesn't mean that they're not going to come back. And I think that's so important to just remember when you get out of a bad situation or when you get out of a good situation, thinking about whatever you've learned and remembering that you're going to have to use that again in your life. And all of that is building you up to, like you said, it's building that character. It's building your ability to withstand these hardships that we might go through in life.
Yeah. I mean, if it was always, like I always like to think about it too, if it was always like flat, like life was coasting at like a great level, you wouldn't really grow as a person, I realized, because I recognized the most growth of myself when I was maybe in like the hardest position in my life and I was forced to make change, or I was forced to be like, I'm not happy right now. Something needs to change. What kickstarted my fitness journey? What kickstarted my healthy nutrition? I wasn't happy. I was at such a low place that I needed something to make my why strong enough and pull me out of it. So like, I feel like you really do need both in your life. And when you look at it as that, you can kind of just look at every low as like, man, this sucks right now, but I'm growing and there's going to be another high. And guess what? There's going to be another low after it, but it's going to make me better again. Like, you're always going to come out on top. You always will. Like, I know you don't think you're going to make it through, but you will. And that's what you need to kind of believe in order to get you through the hard things as well.
Yeah. The last thing I want to say on this is it really allows you, like, life allows you to feel all of your feelings, all of these different emotions. Like, I am so grateful that I had the ability to be excited, happy, sad, mad, heartbroken. Like, I am grateful for each of those emotions, those feelings that I get to feel, because it just means that I'm alive and I'm living and I'm going through life. And going through ups and downs allows you to feel all these different things. And I think that's a really beautiful thing that we don't often think about, but not everyone feels happy. Not everyone gets to feel sad, and they're almost missing out on a part of them because you learn a lot in those different feelings.
Yeah, that's a really great point, Kateri. Be grateful for your emotions. I just need to go off that one line. One line. I know some people who I would view, like, I know it sounds harsh, as like completely emotionless, and I'm so grateful when I think about like all the emotions I feel, because I'm like, man, like, you literally don't get upset about anything in life because your life has been so hard, and I understand that, but I like getting upset because I like feeling sad and being emotional. That if I see like something you struggling, Kateri, like, that breaks my heart. I like feeling that sadness for you because it's just like compassion. It's the human in me. And I never want to be cold and emotionless. And like, it just shows you that you're not at that point yet.
Exactly.
So,
okay. And then the last hard truth of today is we can do our best and still fail, which I love this one. And I think that this is an amazing reminder for me and you, Isabel. It's
I was going to say this hits home.
Yeah, it does hit home, because I was listening to Ed Milet one time, and he was talking about how the younger generations don't really know how to cope with failure. They don't know, and by they, I mean our generation. We don't know how to cope with no's. Someone telling us, no, you didn't get the job. No, you can't do this. Or you failed that exam. Like, we just don't really know how to grasp it and be okay with it. I feel like we're so used to instant gratification, and a lot of people are like, I want to be the smartest in the class. I want to have the best job. And they just like expect that if I work hard, I'm going to get there. But sometimes you're going to work really hard, but someone might be more fit for the job. Someone might have studied a little bit harder, and you failed. You didn't get that. And that's okay, because you need the same thing with you need the bad things in life. You need the failures in life, because the next time you go to do something, you would have learned so much from the past experience that now you can build off of, and you know not to make those mistakes again. Like, failure is just a blueprint for what to do the next time, in my opinion.
It literally is. It's actually like a cheat sheet. It's like getting the exam back, realizing you failed, and then getting to retake it right after
the exact same exam. Exactly.
The exact same exam. So it's like, when you look at it like that way, it's like, oh my God, yeah, I want to fail. I think when it comes down to it, people just fear failure so much because it does hurt. Like, that's the reality of it, guys. When you fail, it hurts. I think back to even when I was applying to colleges and how hard it was for me to accept that I wasn't getting into certain schools that I wanted to. It felt like I just had worked so hard in high school, and I couldn't take that failure. I took it as like a sign of like my personal worth. Like, because I wasn't getting into that, I'm like, I'm not good enough. I must not be smart enough. And like, that's not the case. And I think that's where we all go wrong. And that's where I really struggle with this hard truth, is like understanding that failure can happen to anyone, and failure is a good sign. It just means you're not there yet. It means you have more room to work, and like, it's going to feel so great when you do achieve it. Right. So I don't know. I struggle with this one because I'm not a perfectionist. I always say I'm a perfectionist. I recognized I'm not. Like, I'm not a perfectionist. If I was a perfectionist, everything would be perfect in my life. It's not. Like, I don't plan on do this. You know what I mean? But I've recognized that I put a lot of pressure on myself to always succeed. And I do feel failure. Oh, I do feel, oh my God, I can't say that word. I do fear. No, fear. I'm trying to say fear. I do fear failure a bit because I'm so scared of like getting discouraged. And I think that's what failure does to people is it discourages you and you don't want to keep trying again. And the way to overcome failure is to keep pushing, because then when you do achieve it, right? Like you failed, and then bam, it hit. You're going to be like, oh, okay, so keep going. Like keep going when you fail. Because that's really what failure is you're supposed to keep going and trying. But our generation stops at the failure. And that's why we feel like such shit about it. I stop at the failure. Like if I mentally give up in a run, I beat myself up the entire day. Kateri knows. I'll text her like, I literally ran like shit today. Like God forbid I have one bad run. God forbid I have something to improve on. So
I know.
I don't know. I could go off on this one because it hits me. Like, because I am one of the ones that struggles with this.
And this is one of those examples where it's like, we can either go through experiences and be 80 years old and be telling our grandkids this lesson, but now we have this opportunity to hear it from other successful people, which is like I didn't come up with this on my own, right? You didn't come up with this. Other people will tell you this. They're successful people and they know because they've had failures and they know that maybe they've worked their hardest and still didn't get where they wanted to be. And I think another thing to note here is I feel like sometimes people get upset when they fail, but they maybe didn't give it their all. And I can fall victim to that too. Being able to self-reflect and ask yourself, well, did I try my best? Like mom and dad always said to us growing up, going through all those years of schooling, I was never like a straight A student. I would call myself like a high B average, A- type student. And mom would always say to me, if you tried your best, I do not care what that grade is. And that was the best thing she could have told me, because I always knew as long as I try my best, as long as I study, and when I'm sitting down to take that exam, I'm trying my best and I'm not giving up before I start. Even if I come out on the other side and I got a freaking fat F, a 60 on that exam, if I tried my best, I'm okay with it. And they instilled that in us at such young ages. And I feel like that is really where you need to reflect on yourself too, because if you're not giving it your all, you don't really deserve to succeed.
Yeah.
And you don't deserve to have self-pity when you fail.
And that may be hard to hear. It may be hard to be like, oh yeah, like I don't deserve that. It's hard to admit to yourself that you haven't been showing up and working the hardest that you possibly could, because then you realize it's yourself standing in the way of your own success.
Exactly. And there's a level of discomfort that comes when you have to ask yourself, well, am I really working hard for this? Because there's oftentimes, and we've admitted it on this podcast, that there's things that me and Izzo aren't working our hardest at and that we can improve. We could either sit back and continue to complain about what we don't have yet, or we can just face the harsh truth that we are not doing everything in our power. So we can't give up yet because we're not working our hardest. So we haven't really succeeded, but we haven't really failed yet either, because we're in that in-between of like working really hard and doing the work and like not doing enough, you know? Yeah. And I think that can be applied to so many different situations in anyone's life. So being able to self-reflect on yourself is a big proponent of this truth, I think.
Wait, Kateri, just reflecting on us, I've recognized that I think we've had a lot of growth within this truth in particular, because something I've recognized that we do is we always confront when we're not working we're not trying our best. Like always. I feel like I was always scared to say that. Now I literally will text Kateri and be like, I didn't do enough for that. That's completely my fault. Like I did not put in enough hours or something like that. Like we're just so blunt and honest with ourselves now. And I don't really know how that flip switched, but all I know is that we've been improving ever since. Like I was so scared to face that truth. And ever since we faced it, we've now known where to improve. I've now known like, oh, okay, as well, you have to put in more work. It is you that's happening, you know, because it's worse to be in a situation where you're like, okay, I'm not progressing. I'm doing everything my best. Why am I not moving forward? Like, because then what action do you take?
I think there's a level of peace that lies within accepting the fact that you didn't give it your all, because you know that it's in your control now. Yeah. Like you didn't fail because you messed up one little thing, but you still gave it your all. Like you're almost failing because you aren't controlling your future. You're not putting in the work. You're not taking the actions. You can control what actions you take. I think everything in life is a choice. So there's peace in that, and being able to accept that truth. Exactly like you said in the very beginning, the truth is bitter, but the fruit is very sweet. And that is a perfect example of it. Being able to accept that truth and be like, you know what, this is on me. It's a lot sweeter than being like, I gave it my all almost and didn't get it, like it feels a little better.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's an excuse to not work so hard, but being able to confront yourself, it just like takes the load off a little bit. And it's like, you know what, shake this off. I can keep going and do this.
Yeah. And while doing that hard thing now, like accepting that you didn't do your best, that's going to allow you to now work harder, and the fruit is going to be so sweet. When you succeed, it's going to be so sweet because you did the hard thing of admitting that you weren't working your best. That's what it always comes down to with everything in life, I'm realizing. Hard truth number 4, limited, added edition, everything. Wait, what is it?
I don't know.
I don't even know what I'm trying to say, guys. I'm basically trying to say you have to do the hard now for an easy future. That lesson is applicable in everything in your life. Literally think about it. It's applicable in everything. Grocery store. Even in the grocery store. I tried thinking of an example. I couldn't find it.
Grocery store. So that's going to kind of wrap up our 3 hard truths for today. This is going to be a series that we're going to do because when we were talking about what hard truths to do, we realized that there are so many, and there's some that are super specific to certain areas of life that I think can be really beneficial. And exactly like we always say, whatever we are learning and kind of going through in life, I want our listeners to also learn, because I'm not gatekeeping anything. Like I just want everyone to kind of be on the same wavelength. Like we're not going to be the same people, but I want you to have access to the information that I find or that we think about and that we talk about. And so we definitely want to continue to bring this to the show for our listeners, because you guys deserve to know everything that we have and have all these amazing truths, this amazing knowledge in your back pocket for your future. So sis, why don't you go ahead and tell them maybe another hard truth, another reality that they have to really like get with.
Guys, this is a truth that you need to face right now. You are not a No Sugar supporter if you have not liked this video, if you've not subscribed to our YouTube channel, or you can't call yourself a fan. You can't call yourself a part of this community unless you have lifted us up by sharing this podcast, by liking it, by subscribing, commenting, whatever you need to do, guys. Interact with us, please. If you interact with us, then we can say this is a community. But right, we're not a community if you're not showing any love. We're showing you so much love, but where's the love back? Hard truth. Where's the love back? Oh my God,
also, a new addition on Apple and Spotify is right before the description. You can see send us a text message. So if you want to chat us about this episode, chat us about any of our topics, we can have a conversation with you guys through that. And it's just like we're texting. So I think that's a really fun new addition. I saw that got added last week and I was like, ooh, I love this. I almost texted ourselves just to see what happened. Thank you so much, sister, for that wise knowledge. We hope you're having an amazing day. We hope you have an amazing rest of your week, and we will see you next time.